Hello, and welcome to our lesson on project fundamentals. This segment will cover project triangle. The idea of a project triangle is simple. There is a continuous relationship between scope, what is and what isn't included in a project, resources, which are expended as the project continues, and schedule, the time needed. The triple constraints balance between the three means that it is impossible to make changes to one without affecting at least one of the others in some way. This is why some call this the iron triangle. Put another way, the project triangle illustrates the trade-offs that are a constant reality when completing a project. Many of us make similar trade-offs as part of our daily lives. Public transportation usually costs less but takes longer than a taxi or driving your car. Purchasing goods at a convenience store is quicker and available at later hours, but is almost always more expensive than shopping at a grocery shop. A faster, cheaper drive-through car wash isn't as thorough or customizable as having your car detailed by hand, but it is the budget-friendly norm. Like these examples, the extent of what can be done during a project. At the inception of a project, one of the three sides is often already established as the most important, the shortest possible schedule, for example. And in the following, stakeholders may have already set expectations in line with this. Resources. Other commonly used terms for this concept are capital or budget. This represents the simple fact that money is the universal medium when it comes to resources. Raw materials, components, tools, and overhead expenses, such as facilities, are essential to many projects. As such, selecting, acquiring, and managing them involves a major effort, especially for the project manager. An even bigger, more unpredictable effort often goes toward acquiring and managing the human resources, the organizational staff members, and outside contractors needed to complete the project. Of the three sides of the project triangle, resources can often be the most inflexible for several reasons. Contracts frequently dictate the exact amount of capital available. Human resources are often assigned at the beginning of the project, which gives the project leader little flexibility and new options for change. Resources most directly tied to an organization's bottom line or profitability, and thus carry a host of expectations and implications that can complicate the balance between what is best for the team and what is best for the organization. And a delayed delivery date, schedule, one of the other side of the triangle, is often more readily available than more resources, capital, materials, or team members. Though managing project resources is vital as the project is in progress, there are also long-term effects to consider. Are savings during the project going to cost more in the long run? Will the decisions we make now have negative repercussions down the line? This concept, known as life cycle cost analysis, forces project-minded teams to consider the operational implications of their work, looking past their budgets toward the good of the organization or customer. As an example, modularity may take more time to design and be more complex to build, but the ability to swap parts or upgrade components individually could mean significant cost savings in the long run. As stated above, human resources are frequently the most challenging type of resource to manage, often monopolizing the team leader's time. For example, in functional or matrix organizations, the project leader can spend a significant amount of time mining the skill set their project needs from an existing pool of resources, and even more time conversing with functional managers, seeking an appropriate percentage of their resource time and coordinating with other projects and operational work to which that resource is assigned. This, in turn, affects how a leader must prioritize their time. Schedule. Schedule refers to the time it takes to plan, execute, and complete a project. The modern economy and resulting pace of business have put a great deal of emphasis on ever-tightening timescales. Determining, managing, and tracking schedules is vital to project leadership. For many, schedules seem to be the most flexible part of the project triangle. They feel that if they can work more efficiently on more extended hours, or even find shortcuts, they can shorten the time needed to complete a project, all without affecting the other sides of the triangle. Project leaders need to resist this temptation, especially in the long term. An unsustainable pace can result in more waste, burnout-related mistakes, and loss of morale, leading to lower quality work and the exodus of much-needed personnel. Another factor, schedule compression, also called fast-tracking or crashing, invariably comes at a cost to quality resources. When team members are added to a project, they must be trained and, for some time, won't work as efficiently as pre-existing members. Additionally, more time or resources are needed to coordinate and communicate with the larger team, and in turn, this faster pace taxes external dependencies such as contractors or materials providers. If other methods are employed, they also come at a cost. Consider, for example, how having materials shipped overnight is significantly more expensive than slower alternatives. The most practical way to shorten the project schedule is to address the other sides of the triangle directly. Most resources can be expended. Hiring more experienced team members, for example, often results in quicker results with fewer errors, which require schedule extending rework. In addition, decreasing scope, the third side of the triangle, is often the easiest and most practical way to reduce schedule. Finally, placing lower priority components near the end of the schedule makes for a natural selection of the most vital elements should a looming deadline or shortened schedule become a reality. Employing cyclical or change-focused process models makes this much more accessible since they are often iterative. Scope. The term scope refers to what is and isn't included in the project, the results to be created as the resources and schedule are consumed. Put another way, scope is the output of the effort expended while implementing the project. What most immediately comes to mind is a product or service. However, scope could also include other elements such as documentation, training, or future support known as project deliverables. Deliverables are simply the products, services, or results a project intends to produce. Although they aren't always delivered at the end of the project, they can be made as the project is being implemented. Scope and the deliverables that define it are always a planned, intentional result of the project. Many equate the concept of quality directly with scope. Some even label scope as quality. Quality, covered previously, has a foundation built of standards, conformance, and excellence. Each of these considerations can be applied just as readily to schedule and resource management as the scope of the project. Since quality considerations should be at the center of all project activities, it is placed at the center of the project triangle. The nature of the project triangle means that scope is often involved in trade-offs with schedule and resources. Because what is to be delivered by projects varies so wildly, there is not much more to be said about individual projects' scope except this. It is necessary to spend time properly defining, with little uncertainty, what the scope of a project entails. This is the end of this segment of our lesson. In the next segment, we shall discuss defining project outcomes, a layered approach, goals and scope. This course is presented to you by South Europe College. Thank you for listening and see you on our next segment.